Welcome to Evolve Your Blueprint,
where we explore the concept of evolving
and discuss our journey as individuals from diverse cultural backgrounds.
Our mission is to bring real conversations,
relate through storytelling,
and empower you to evolve with us.
Let's evolve together.
All right, welcome back everybody to Evolve Your Blueprint. We're so excited to have you here today. Our topic today is hot. We're going to be talking about the evolving spark. Is it lust, love, or just life? Because a lot of the times, whether it is you or your friends or family members, we talk about, is our spark dimming with our partner, or is it not fast enough if you're dating? So today we're going to really hit all of those things, but let's begin. What is the spark? What do y'all think?
When I think about that question, when I think about my dating life and the aspects that I look into, physical, am I physically attracted to this person, right? Emotionally, am I feeling connected? And then just really like smart wise, like what is it? Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I look at a lot of those components, even like in a first date. Yeah. Conversation. Can you hold a conversation with me, right?
Yeah, is there flow in the conversation?
Yes.
Natural intrigue. Am I curious about you? Are you curious about me?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I think about my dating life a lot when I think about like, what is the spark? Yeah. Do I feel the connection in different ways?
Yeah.
And that like whole saying of like, did you feel the butterflies in your stomach? You know, I feel like it's been an evolution with that and really connecting with that part of my body. And if it's a familiar feeling from past trauma or not. So I've broken that down in therapy and really even questioning the spark within myself. Right. So
like, what is the spark anyway?
Exactly.
The spark can really take off so many different forms, right? Like the intellectual part, the physical attraction piece, and it reminds me of, I don't know if any of you watching this show, but I'm starting to get into it. It's on YouTube. It's called Pop the Balloon or Find Love.
Yes.
Right? Oh my gosh. Shout out to Arlette.
Shout out to Arlette.
But it's essentially this show, right? Where like, you come with the balloon, and then these the participants, a single person comes out. Mind you, there's maybe like a group of either men or women. And essentially you have to pop the balloon when it's just not for you, right? When whatever it is. And one of the initial questions that comes out that the host asks the participants is like, if you're just not like, if the physical attraction piece isn't there, then you pop, right? And it's interesting seeing some of the responses from the participants, right? Because some are like, nope, not my type. Then I know what I want. That's not it. Next, right? And then there are others where like, it's not initially what I want, but I'm trying something different in my life right now. Yeah. I'm wondering to experiment and see if I can tolerate something else. And that tolerance now turns into maybe an attraction. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like, do we withstand or do we kind of maybe sit with that and then see if we can find other parts of maybe the potential person that we are attracted to. So the spark can vary.
Yes. I mean, shout out to you for getting me into it. There was a weekend where my sister and I even got my husband into it. My
really?
mom, we're all sitting on the couch.
Really?
My mom's like, ¿qué es esto? What are they doing? But yeah, I think that sometimes it's, yes, the physical component for them. Sometimes it's their answers, what they have to say. So like really kind of tuning into that intellectual, intellectually, are we stimulated in the same way? Right. But also, there's also some people that talk about just vibe. Like, it's not my vibe, and just energy, just how you feel, demeanor, right? Where you're like, oh no, not for me, or yes, So yeah, there's so much that comes with the spark. How do you view the spark, Brandon?
Well, they're almost like simultaneous. Like I feel like a lot of us, like we can look at the three different aspects Vidi was talking about, like at the same time. I think physical is like most apparent, right? It's you could see it with your eyes in a lot of ways. So it's like the evolutionary part of like why we pick certain people or label them as attractive or whatnot. Also a cultural piece. But for me, at least, like, and I'll be honest here, like growing up, like it's always been the physical attraction first, and then the physical attraction can lead to emotional attachment or intellectual, and kind of from there. But I have friends and family who like they come strictly from like the emotional piece or the intellectual piece, and then they learn to appreciate a person's physical appearance. And I guess it's always been a question in my mind, like, is that just the way certain brains are wired that they're able to do the difference, or is it just personality or emotional intelligence? I'm not really sure.
Yeah. The other show that I watch actually,
A ver.
Love is Blind.
Oh, yes.
So you don't get to see them, right? If you guys have watched the show, Love is
the
Blind.
pods, right? It's one of the pods.
Yes,
Yes, the
exactly.
pods.
Right. They're in the pods. They just connect with one another over a wall, right? And they can't see each other, and they have to say yes, and even
Get married, right? Like,
Yeah,
yes to a marriage, imagine.
yeah, and then they get to see each other, right?
Edie, you want to go?
Hey,
Let's sign our girl up.
this is the thing. If I would ever actually do a show, a dating show, I think it would be that one. It would be Love
There
is
you go.
Blind.
Handle it.
Okay.
Because I feel like a lot of there's a lot of my friends before would ask me like what did you see in this person? And like I don't see a lot of the physical right away for me. For me it's emotional, and being able to really connect with you, than the physical. There is a level of physical attraction, but not like that's not my first. So I feel like for me, I think I would do good with Love is Blind, if I would be on that show. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that one really, like that spark, you have to connect with them emotionally, those conversations, even your values, your value system, right? And yeah, you don't get to see them until you actually meet. And then some of them, they don't like each other.
They don't like it. They're like, what? No.
They don't like how they like what they see.
Yeah.
And then that's
tough.
where like the conflict and the discomfort comes, right?
Well, I wonder if like for them, part of it is like there's this emotional, intellectual value
Yeah.
alignment, and then low key they're kind of visualizing what they imagine this person to look like.
Exactly.
Like I wonder if it's like,
Right.
oh, if this person makes me feel this way, then they're probably gonna look like this. Like I wonder, you know,
Yeah,
obviously I
yeah.
have no idea.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I feel like I've actually always been the same way. With what you're just describing, in just the intellectual, emotional, really the emotional, just also humor, like just
Yes.
to me, all of those things have always been the most important. And values, right? And then physical attraction. Well, obviously, like there has to be some, but I don't necessarily think that was what I would lead with. And then I think to your question, Brandon, of what is it that guides people? Is it emotional intelligence, et cetera? But I don't know. I do feel like people date differently at different stages of their life, or depending on how much they've looked inward. And I've been married for some time. I'm married and dating for some time. My husband now. So I feel like if I was dating today, I think that maybe the things that I would initially look for may be very different from when I was in my 20s, which is when I started dating my husband.
I wonder if there's like gender or like sex differences of like when you look at men versus women in terms of like the spark piece, right? And I don't know the answer to it, but just kind of throwing the question out there.
I mean, I always hear that. I don't know if any of you have heard this messaging is like, oh, men are more visual, right? And then women are not necessarily as visual as men, right? I think a lot of men can, or at least that general messaging is that that's where men get kind of stuck at, if you will, right? And the visual piece of it. I don't necessarily believe that necessarily, but I think that's very kind of common messaging, right? I think men can very much go into past the physical, or maybe adding to the physical might be a better way of saying it. But that is interesting. I'm curious what you all grew up with, right? Is that like, was that messaging ever there, not there? Just curious.
In my household, there was never really like conversations about like, oh, like this is the type of person like you should look for. It was more just like if they make you feel good. But then I look at myself, if I'm being honest, it's like there's a particular type of person that I found myself attracted to, even though that was never preached about in my household, which made me kind of think like, oh, is this something more biological? Is it something genetic? I don't know.
No, I feel like for us it was more talking about, you know, does this person have ambition? Are they good people? More that was more, I think, brought up. Now, you know, my sister is in her 20s and single, and so, you know, I hear my grandma joking around with her. You know, she'll say things like, which I don't agree with, but I'm curious. Again, I think it's just interesting. She'll say things to my sister like, make sure he's smart, and not too attractive. And I'm like, girl, what are you telling my sister? You know? And it's like, see, it's because if they're too attractive, then they're gonna do this or they're gonna do that. And I'm all, grandma, that's toxic, you know? But it's interesting, right? Yeah, I don't necessarily think that I was told a whole lot on, you know, what I should and shouldn't look for, physically speaking, but I think things that I connect to culture and stuff like that, like those things were important to me. But yeah,
I think culture is a big piece for me that has played a part in dating without even me knowing. Like I've dated just Latinos, but then much more recently, I'm like I'm open to outside my race, right? But yeah, sometimes there's a level of like, you're dating outside your race, like, oh no. I don't know if it's like, not shame, but kind of criticized a little bit. There could be judgment. Yes, there can be some judgment of like, oh.
Like other cultures is what you're talking about.
Yeah, totally. But the most, obviously, I stayed with my race a lot, and what I've attracted and obviously what I've dated as well. But yeah,
there's also the piece of like, when we talk about spark, the circumstance, right? Like, you know, when you're at a really cool, like neat bar or whatever, or you're out and about, right? And like everything is just right. Like the spark can feel like, whoa, there's such strong connection with this person. And then
is it the vibes with the person or the vibes with the room?
Exactly. Because the next time you meet up and it's like, oh, kind of a very different setting. You're like, wait, what was this the same person?
Not the vibe anymore.
No judgment, guys.
Talk
I've been there.
That, Vidi, please.
Yeah.
I was like, what was that about? Right?
Yeah, I mean, my younger self.
Sure.
Definitely my younger self. I've been there. I've done that.
The Coachella days, right?
Actually, never been to Coachella. I've never been to any type of festival. Actually, I've never felt like the attraction to do that. I don't know how I can actually last a whole weekend of that. I don't know if my body can do that, but like being on vacation and obviously like being in the moment, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I'm like in a different country, different continent. So like, let love come, right?
Yeah, let adventure be there, you know? Let the spark be there.
Is it love or is it lust, right?
Yeah.
But like come back to the spark we're talking about, right? You know, I think the intensity of it does matter, right? Like when we're talking about, hey, is this a real connection? I mean, of course it's connection, but how much of that connection is it something that we want to pursue and go more into? Or how much of this maybe intense connection that we may feel with someone is maybe layered with some of our trauma history. Maybe it's layered with some of our kind of, you know, attachment style history, right? Where it's like we may feel attracted to a certain kind of intensity, right? And that initial spark. A lot of it's called now like love bombing. Or what, like, oh, the spark is big. You know, I'm getting like just bombarded with so much attention, validation, gifts, right? Just, you know, communication is 100%. Everything is happening. And then, oh, that's a great spark, right? On paper. Then we have to kind of do that thing. Wait, what is this really? Now, is this something that's just familiar to me in my history? Or is it actually, no, this is kind of cool. This is what it is. That's a question that we all got to figure out ourselves.
Yeah, I feel like when it happens too fast, too quick, too soon, and when you're in it, it feels overwhelming, or it feels like this like high of like love or whatever, lust, right? And then once you're out of it, you're like, what in the hell? That was just love bombing there. Yes. But when you're out of it, because I've experienced that. Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, that was not the healthiest. And you learn. you learn.
How do y'all think people listening could be aware of that? Like, what does love bombing look like?
It can be responses such as like, I'm just thinking back of this like situation.
She's all, let me close my eyes real quick.
Bring out the receipts.
Yeah. Just very like quick attachment of like responses of like daily, I don't know, like daily text messages, or just like really like planning the future together really quickly, you know, which some of the questions are very valid, because you also want to like make sure that you guys are on the right level of value system, right?
Sure,
like
yeah.
having kids in the future, things like, so some of them are very appropriate,
Yeah.
but then there's a level of like probably like feeling like it's too much too soon. I don't know.
So like asking to move in after the second date, is that too fast?
That for me, I would say that's love bombing and too fast, for sure.
Yeah, I know. I say that kind of jokingly, but it's true. It does happen. Yeah, right. Like I work with a lot of my clients with experience with some level of that. But yeah, it's this idea like, the physical intimacy was just amazing. So like, that's my soulmate, that's my partner for life. And yeah, we're thinking about moving in together. It's month 2, right? Or second month, and you're like, oh, let's see where else that's happened in your life. Or, let's is this a pattern, right? What are you, how old is the part of you that's feeling this strong attachment? There's a strong attachment, the strong spark, right? Those are the kind of tricky things that I think we really got to be aware of when we're talking about what the spark is. And also, I think it works the other way. When the spark is dimming or dying out, flaming out, right? Okay, is this kind of part of the natural progression of the relationship? Or am I used to that intensity that now if it's not intense, it's not working for me, right? What is that?
And then I think we start to see like some individuals who are like serial daters. It's just like back to back, and patterns aren't changing. It's like they're chasing that high. And once that honeymoon phase dims down in one relationship, it's like, okay, on to the next one. And it's just this repetition? I can't say it.
Repetitive? Yeah.
Repetitive cycle.
Words.
It's a very redundant cycle. Yeah.
Repetitive cycle. My brain got stuck there for a second.
Hold on. How do I help him? Hold on.
What's going on here? And I see that commonly when I work with clients of like these patterns, and part of our job is to help them build awareness to it.
Yeah.
But it's actually like it's a chemical hit that they're getting, and they're chasing that drug.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had plenty of clients who, sometimes will stay in a situation really just for almost like for it to serve a void, not necessarily they can have the insight of like, I know that this person isn't the it for me, but it's filling a void, or I don't want to feel alone. And so, sometimes they will say yes to things that they know deep inside aren't going to be long lasting for them. And I think that there's so much to this, but I guess to go into the next piece, like you mentioned, Alejandro, what about for those who, because here we're talking about, almost like in dating, right? This like quickness that people sometimes are looking for, but what about for those who are in relationships and, who start to say like, wait a minute, I feel like the spark is dimming, and what does this mean? How would you all define, the spark? How would you all define like kind of like the spark dimming, and even like what do you think could come with that, right?
That's a great question, because it does, and I think it's a fundamental understanding that relationship with your partner will change and will hopefully evolve in the relationship, right? I've been married. This year's our 10-year anniversary later this year.
Ooh,
so
congrats,
thank you.
Y'all.
And dated for 5 years before that. So we've been together for over a decade now. And it's the idea, right, of different ages of our different seasons of our career, different seasons of just life, right? Experienced just a lot of life in 15 years, right? 15 years is a lot of life. I think there has to be, on some level, some kind of acceptance to know that the relationship has to kind of evolve and grow and change in different ways. how that looks, sometimes we're not ready for that. I'll be honest. We're like, oh, it's here. So are we going to go with it, shift it, and talk about it? But it definitely does go through like ups, downs, right? Maybe intensities where it feels like really high, and then it could be like kind of very low. But I think it comes with knowing that it's not going to be honeymoon 24/7, right? It's also not going to be shitty or crappy 24/7, right? Like there will be those moments for sure, right? But it's having that real big understanding and context and trust with each other that when those moments come, we can repair. We have to choose to engage to repair, but we can do that, right? So when the dimming starts to happen, it's going to be on us. It's up to my wife and I to really sit down and figure this out. But if one of us isn't ready to do that, then you can imagine, right? It's going to continue to dim.
Yes, and you can bump heads, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think when I think of like the spark dimming, you know, it can mean a lot of different things for people in their relationships, right? Like it could mean, you know, we're clashing more. Small things are bothering us more. I'm thinking of like all of the things, you know. We talk about the same thing every single day. You know, I have a lot of clients who say like, I just feel like we don't talk about anything exciting anymore. It's the same thing every day. And then also the question becomes like, how much of that is, for lack of a better word, like normal, you know, is it appropriate or expected, I guess, that sometimes things will feel a little bit mundane. I think that the normalcy of it all is really going to be defined with your partner, right? On what you each have more or less tolerance for. Like I'm okay with, you know, emotionally for things to feel more mundane, but I'm not okay with physically intimacy feeling mundane or vice versa. So I think it's really going to be defined by the couple, but I think bumping heads, less patience, more irritability, less initiation for any sort of connection, I think would all be indicators that maybe like the spark is dimming. But I think that really the hope for today is that we can support our listeners and not feeling panicked, you know, that if you are having that question of, you know, is our spark dimming, that it doesn't have to throw you into a panic, and more so, again, similarly, like we mentioned, I feel like we're all about kind of tuning in, but just that you tune in what's coming up and how do I feel about this part of our relationship, the spark dimming there, and what can we do about it?
I think that dim has to happen in any relationship.
Well, tell me more.
We can take the perspective of it comes in of like a scarcity mindset of like, oh no, like something is dimming, or we can come from the perspective of like, okay, something is dimming, which means change. Yeah. There change is needed. It's an opportunity to kind of shift gears. So if I think of, you know, within relationships, right, like when you're newly married, things go a certain way, but then if you choose to become a parent, certain things are going to have to dim because other things, you're going to have to shift gears a little bit. Your roles are going to have to shift. Your identity will have to shift just slightly in order to realign again, as Alejandro was talking about. How do you have conversations with each other to stay on the same team in order to move in the new direction that you're going to be headed in? So I think that dimming is necessary. It's just so important that you have the communication in order to move forward from it.
Yeah. And part of it, I think, is also people having tolerance for understanding that the spark is dimming. So here's what I mean by that. It's, let's say that you are in a relationship and you're like, you know, I don't really feel connected in whatever way. And so you go and tell your partner, hey, you know, I'm feeling disconnected in XYZ way. You know, I think that a lot of what can either allow for repair or can make it scary or make people panic is how receptive your partner is to hearing that feedback. Does that partner take it openly and get to say, you know what, I've been feeling that same way too? Or does your partner go, what are you talking about? You know, or, you know, we're just busy, or this is normal, you know, whatever. Right. And so I think that also has a lot to do with, you know, are we able to heal the spark or spruce it back up, right? In whatever capacity that you're feeling disconnected.
And there's also couples therapy for that.
Yes, there is. Hit us all up.
Yeah. and I'll tell all the men, fellas, if you're going to couples therapy, it doesn't mean you're bad or it doesn't mean you did something wrong. It does not mean that. It just means that maybe it's another arena to like rebuild and try to strengthen that connection, that spark that I'm sure was there. But sometimes we need some help to kind of get it going again.
Yeah.
My first experience in therapy was actually the couples therapy.
Look at that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was in my early 20s, and it was 6 year relationship when I was with him. And I think and he is the one that initiated it. Right.
Check
but
him
I
out.
think the reason why he initiated, and I think he was so comfortable with it, is because there was services with his family with therapy. So I think the openness of that was more on his side. And when he approached me about it, I was like, I ain't got no problem. What do you mean? I was like,
It's you, not me.
Why don't you go to therapy? You figure yourself out.
Oh, it's
I
so
wasn't a
common, though. It's
therapist yet.
So
That is so
common.
funny. Oh my God.
I wasn't a therapist yet, and I was an undergrad.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even thinking about going to grad school yet. So it was really interesting. But yeah, my first experience in therapy was couples therapy.
Yes.
And it was approached by him, and he's like, we should do it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? I got no problem. It's not me. It's not me. It's you.
You're talking
Hilarious.
about.
Yeah. But that's really kind of to what you're saying, right? You reached out to the fellas in, here, but I think it's also in general, right? It can feel like if someone's suggesting couples therapy, like there's something wrong or whatever. But I think it could be like a cool opportunity, because really couples therapy is really about building your communication, understanding the unit, right? Which
Yeah, it's about seeing each other. It's about being empathizing with each other. It's about seeing where your partner is and where you need to come up to meet them, and vice versa. To problem solve together, to communicate, not just emotionally, like with your language, but and with intimacy and all the layers of intimacy. Yeah, it's
So our hope is obviously that our listeners are open to therapy, but what about for the listeners that are like, nah, I'm not there yet. I don't think I'm open to therapy or couples therapy. What would you all say to those who are listening to us, who are feeling like, I really want to heal the spark with my partner, and what about we talk about both, So for the person that is in a relationship and wants to begin the process of healing their spark, what would y'all say to that? And then also for the person who is maybe dating, they're out in the dating world, which I hear is rough, and talking to them about what can they begin to consider for healing their idea of the spark, and what it needs to be.
That's a
Sorry, y'all. I'm
quite
like
the
mouthful,
question
huh?
there.
But I feel like people have these questions, and I think as much as we obviously are advocates for therapy, people it takes people time to sometimes get there, So what kind of support can we provide?
well, I think if you're noticing in your relationship that maybe the spark is dimming, maybe you've been together for years, maybe life has just gotten life, right? Life has just been life, and for natural reasons, nothing maybe even malicious per se, but you notice the spark is dimming. Start with simple things, right? Scheduling as difficult, and I say simple quote in quotes because this is difficult to do, but schedule a ongoing continuous date night with your partner. Date night doesn't have to be a fancy 5-star restaurant. It could be a walk around to the park. It can be getting a cup of coffee. It can be making coffee and taking it outside and walking around, right? But the idea is intentionally making that effort. Because what happens when we schedule a date night? We are cutting time out of our busy schedule. We're we're showing our partner that they matter to us. We value their time. We're showing connection to them. Hopefully, we're leaving our phones at home. But we're giving each other that individual attention that we as humans on a human level need. And when we're feeling that reciprocated back in your partner that you give to them, it feels very much aligned. And when you feel aligned, things like different defenses, if you will, or protector parts start to soften. So I know it's a simple thing of just scheduling a date night, but don't underestimate the power of what that can do. because it's a simple date night, but what it actually communicates to your loved one is much more.
And it
Those
kind of,
intentional check-ins, right?
yeah. No, exactly. You said what I was going to say.
Yes, and those intentional check-ins can be very meaningful and purposeful. Yeah. The other thing I was going to mention about what are those, like Kaylee said, right? Even dating, kind of, I can put my shoes there, like my own self there, is when I think about spark, and I think about also nervous system regulation and like where I feel it in the body. So, because I do a lot of body practices, and I ask a lot of my clients where they feel it in the body. So even that spark, what does it feel like in your body? Where do you feel it in your body? Describe it with like a sensation, texture, give it an object, have it feel very attainable to you, connect the mind to the body, and also get curious about this. What is this spark about for you? Like, what does it remind you of? And letting it be there, and listening to your body, because they will, they'll tell you what is that underlining core root of what your nervous system is needing at that moment. So it's practice though, and making space and capacity for it though, and getting curious about what that spark is within you and that nervous system regulation part.
When I do couples work, I always tell the clients, we got to go back to basics. So what are the basics here? It's like being able to communicate, number one, but a part of communication is listening. Like, how can you effectively listen to your partner? Because a lot of times conflict arises, or the spark starts to fade when people feel like they're not being heard or they're not being seen. And so, we talk about playing games together. And back in the day when Kaylee and I used to work in community mental health, we used to do this one game where it would be one person would have to build something. So we used to use like spaghetti and marshmallows, and they would have to build like the biggest tower. So one person's job was to be the builder, and the other person's job was to give the instructions. We'll do that same activity within couples work. And it's so interesting to see the dynamics of like some people, I tell them you have 2 years for a reason. So if one fails you got to spare, you got to back up. So as they're like practicing, it's like working those muscles of like, are you truly listening to your partner? Yeah. Or are you just kind of zoning out or hearing what you want to hear? And focusing on that skill alone is so vital, just as a foundation to have a healthy relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, play is what it comes, like play and fun, right?
Yeah.
Because life can be lifing and hustle is there, and we can be doing and bringing it back to the basics of play.
Yeah. I mean, I know that in previous episodes I've talked about, being kind of like thinking about like social media as a negative, right? Or how it's impacted. But here's where I feel like, this is something that I think anybody can do. And actually something that, we do in when we're both busy during the day. Like sometimes when I'm scrolling and I see something that's funny or that reminds me of him, like I'll send it and we'll watch it together. Like when we're in bed at the end of the night, we're like, oh, like, did you see what I sent you? And we're like, no, okay, and we watch it together and we're just cracking up. And so it's like, for me, right, humor and laughter, like to me, that's I always tell my husband, so long as you make me laugh my whole life, you're going to be solid, but I think that, it doesn't have to be super complex things. You can begin somewhere, anywhere. I think of even like the love languages, right, it doesn't have to be super time consuming, but if you kind of take a step back, what is it that you need, and what is it that your partner also how do they feel loved? And so can I begin there? It doesn't have to be this huge shift in my days. Can you begin somewhere there, just doing anything to try to kind of ignite that spark again, or remind of like what started this in the first place.
I love that watching the videos together at night to almost kind of unwind, like a joint activity. Yeah. Or the idea of building something together, doing a joint activity together, building something with noodles.
We should do it together. We should do that activity together and make a reel out of it, because I think it'd be kind of fun, honestly, to do it together.
Okay. Yeah, we'll try it. Yeah, behind the scenes. But to the question of like, how do we rebuild that dimming spark, right? Whether you're in a 10-year relationship or whether you're, new in the relationship, if you notice that disconnect, that idea, I like that. Doing activities together to create something, right? Making like a joint project, right? And this will vary for everyone, but like whatever, maybe you can find a joint activity for you and your partner to do together. Kind of helps when you kind of create something, right? It almost gives each person a level of satisfaction, knowing that you work together. It was a team. You reinforce that team kind of building. We kind of need to practice. Everyone will have to choose their own activity and what works for their couple, but something like that I think would be helpful.
I think there's this notion at times, and I've seen it within couples. They'll be like, "Oh, well, we're not getting along, so let's have a baby." Or let's bring like another living,
Like that's gonna fix it.
right?
Like,
But I
this
think
is next, right?
Maybe well-intentioned, probably, right?
Well-intentioned.
Like this is gonna give us something to
to-
a joint activity.
That's true. That's very much
in
the
many
point.
different angles, right? A joint activity to create the child, right? And then to rear the child.
Lots of joint activity.
And all these things.
A lot of practice. Yeah.
But once again, that's a living being that is being created, which comes with a multitude of responsibilities.
Yeah.
And then second to that, people may be like, "Oh, let's get a pet."
Yeah.
Together, right? It's another living creature, but like you don't have to go that far. Like it could be like the shared videos, or it could be like building Legos
Activity.
or something like that. Like start there and build your way up before you kind of jumped to the highest degree of co-parenting or whatever it should be. But yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, definitely.
That's definitely true.
That would be like the longest activity you could do.
I know you're hooked for life now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point though. Yeah.
What's so interesting about like when we were thinking about this title, we were going back and forth like what is the
know.
title of today's episode, but the 3 L's, right? Love, lust,
Life.
and life.
I think sometimes we have an expectation of what things are supposed to be, right? Or look like. And I think as you do your own work, then that does evolve and that does change. And I think we heal in relationships, but we're also wounded in relationships as well. We also mirror each other in relationships, obviously, and like being able to like really grow together. And being single, there's so much that I could do, healing work. And I do feel like in relationships, things have been mirrored and I've grown the most and I realize, and it's not easy. So it is important that during this process of like even figuring out what is love, what is lust, it's all part of life, and having a lot of self-grace, a lot of self-compassion, because life, we only do it for the first time right now. I think just to our viewers is giving yourself a lot of grace and forgiveness when you're like not sure of like if you're getting it right? And it's okay to make a mistake, right? Like if you're dating someone, you're like, oh, shoot, I knew it, It's like, it's okay. It's okay, right? And I think I've just gotten so much better at like, okay. But before I was like, there was so much like self-blame at first. But then it's like, dude, you're just doing this for the first time and you're learning a lot. And yeah.
I imagine hearing you share this video, I imagine that your spark barometer has been evolving and have been adjusting throughout the relationships, where now your spark barometer can really detect, right, the individuals that, this is a maybe healthy, if you will, spark, or maybe a spark that, I don't know if I really want to invest part of myself into this right now.
Yeah. When you've been single for so long too, I like took a 3-year break from like really dating anybody. And then when I finally like put myself out there again and gave myself the opportunity with this person, right? And it happened so fast and so quick. And the love bombing was there to some extent. And then after like a month, it was like a month and a half, right? And we didn't continue. But then afterwards, I was like, yeah. But it served a purpose. Like, I do feel like he allowed me to open myself up again. So I like shift my perspective of like, this person just opened up VD again for a possibility. And there was this level of like, was I truly self-sabotaging myself and not putting myself out there? Inward questioning and just not questioning, more self-reflection. But he opened up that part of me that was closed for 3 years, you know? And I was like, interesting, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
As you're mentioning all of that, I think about a lot of my clients who are these ambitious, amazing women and have been single for some time. And I think what I'm noticing is a lot of the women that I see, they're kind of just like, if this person that I'm dating isn't going to add to my life, then I'd rather be single and I'd rather be alone, you know, for the time being. And so it can be almost like, it's like hard to crack them open again, because it's like I have like this like shell and guardedness because I got me and I got life. Yeah, no, I've got my life together and I don't need anybody. But I think it's really considering, well, what else is there to life or whatever? What else do I want to experience? But yeah, I'm hearing you say, you know, some people you could date and they're not necessarily the person for you, but they can teach you something, or they can, allow you to believe like, oh yeah, I can feel a spark again. I thought I couldn't feel a spark because I don't know.
Something again.
Yeah, I feel. Oh, okay, I feel again, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was relit.
It was relit.
The spark was relit.
Spark was relit.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what it was. And it's like that was his purpose, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, move on. But there is a dating crisis, I feel like. There is. I feel like there's a dating crisis happening. Yeah.
Pop that balloon.
Pop that balloon.
Pop that balloon.
Yeah. But because I work with a lot of women that are in the same boat, essentially. But then some of them are very self-reflective of like, hey, I'm noticing that am I giving like closed off vibes?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's great to like
Reflect
bring to
on.
therapy, you know, and explore. And where is that stemming from? Where do you feel it in your body? You know? And then literally it goes all the way back to like interesting, childhood. It goes back to childhood a lot of the times.
It's a great point you bring up, though, is, am I giving something off, right? I think that's such a good piece, because I think that goes back to what is the spark, right? If this isn't sparking my interest, I'm not going to engage, right? And I think sometimes our spark barometer can very much be a protective factor that we have that's online without us necessarily knowing. So I'm not going to, I know this is going to sound weird, but like there's a part of me that's not going to allow myself to feel attracted to XYZ person, right? Unless it's meets all these criteria.
Right.
Yes.
And
is that realistic, right? Those are the
Right.
expectations.
Right.
And are they high as they should be?
Yeah.
Or,
Like, what is that balance, right? Of like,
Yes.
well, no, this is what I want. This is it, and I should get what I want. Yeah, like truth, right? For sure. And then what is the balance of like, how much of this is actually genuine part of myself, or how much of it is maybe a layer of protection to keep me safe from having to face deep vulnerability?
I've also had people who, you know, have told me, you know what, Kaylee, this person checks off all the boxes, and for whatever reason, I'm just not feeling it, you know? And I think, you know, like, again, I've got to go over a decade, but I've had that experience where I've dated someone who meets all the boxes essentially, but I was just like, I know this isn't my person. And so some of it is also just you knowing, right? It's like a discernment within yourself, right? Of just, this isn't it. But I think it does have to do, you know, the spark, the dimming of the spark, or this, is the spark enough? I do think it has a lot to do with expectations, you know, also, you know, tolerance for the spark being dimmed or not. I think a lot of the times people don't talk about the spark dimming, or, you know, if the spark is dimming, then this has to throw us into a crisis. And I think that that's a lot of the work that, you know, you do with yourself and with your partner, and just kind of understanding, what is this all really about?
I mean, I hear so many times in a way our spark is dimming. I notice the spark dimming, that means it's a crisis, right? And now like I'm doing self-sabotaging behavior now because I'm scared, right? So it's like, wait a minute, no, this is just maybe different for us, right? We're in a very vulnerable position, and that's kind of the goal of relationships, to be emotionally intimate. But that could be so scary. So now next thing you know, at any sight of the spark dimming, abort, like protective parts come in and help me, save me, because this is not gonna happen. I'm not gonna get hurt.
It's like this again-ness, right? Especially when you're dating. Yeah.
I think sometimes the spark can be even dimmed within yourself and your relationship. So for all of the listeners today, we want you to really consider, how do you define the spark? Whether that is you as a dater, you in a relationship, and is your definition of what the spark should be? Is it supportive to you, or is it a barrier? Whatever it is, we encourage you to consider. And thank you so much for tuning in with Evolve Your Blueprint today. If you aren't subscribed, we invite you to subscribe to our channels. And thank you so much for joining us today. Until next time, bye.